have we bothered to find out the breakdown of the so-called SS PAR? In 2015, we had a plan to bring all the 5 port lines of VALCO back on stream. As we speak, 3 port lines are idle. Those 3 port lines consume 225 megawatts of power. In 2015, the other plan was to export power to Burkina Faso and the Sahelian countries. Indeed, our policy decision was to become a major exporter of power, if you remember. We took steps. We were completing a loop, the 330 kV loop, that will, first of all, reduce transmission losses and make it easier to export a larger amount of power. In March 2018, the government, and I say the government because His Excellency the President announced a decrease in tariffs even before PURC came out to formalize that. So I say the government announced a reduction in tariffs. One of the outcomes of that reduction was that GRICO lost 280 million cedis in that fiscal year. GRICO came to Parliament, came to the Committee of Mines and Energy and said, look, they were going to lose this money. And the outcome of that was that they were going to suspend some critical projects. The same reduction impaired the books of GRICO, and therefore the French Agency for International Development, who had a project going with GRICO to work on some of these lines, withdrew. They only came back in 2020. And so we lost the opportunity of completing that transmission line and being able to export more power. Currently, we're exporting 100 megawatts, thereabout, to Burkina. We could have been exporting in excess of 200 if the line had been completed.
Okay.
So, here is VALCO 225. Here is a loss of exports. And then we turn around to say we have excess power. There was a plan for this power.
Okay.
And in talking about excess power, let me state this. There is what we call spinning reserve. Others call it redundancy. You need a certain amount of reserve to operate a power system. Just like football. 11 players form a team on the field, but every team is made up of minimum 16 players because you need some reserves. Somebody gets injured, etc., you change. And so there's a spinning reserve, which in Ghana we have determined to be 18%. In other jurisdictions, it's as high as 25%, but we have determined 18% as our spinning reserve. That reserve is not accounted for in pricing, and therefore that burden goes on to ECG. So when they are counting excess power, they even include that reserve. Okay. As a people, we need to stop being partisan and become technical.
Okay, and talking about being technical, so I look at the PPA committee that presented its report in 2017 April. Now, when it comes to GPGC, these are the remarks. This is an emergency plant with a 5-year PPA. Used plant, not new, and high tariff. Major equipment has arrived at the Tema port awaiting tax exemption to clear. Based on the 2018-2030 demand-supply capacity balance and the tariff rank on this project, the full capacity of this project will be excess idle, resulting in estimated total cost of 115.48 million within the duration of the PPA. The likelihood of the plant being idle is further heightened by the fact that there is a pure natural gas-fired turbine to be located in Tema where there is inadequate gas to feed it. There is therefore a high probability of the plant remaining idle even if allowed to proceed. The actual development cost of the project to date should be verified and used in negotiations for termination. So this is a committee setup, and their recommendation says should be terminated, and they say the actual development cost of the project to date should be verified and used in negotiations for terminations. Would you blame the minister, the Attorney General then?
I have two issues on that.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, it is not right that the contract was for 5 years, it was for 4 years.
Okay.
I have the contract documentation.
Sure.
If they can get this, even the duration wrong, you can imagine. Secondly, it was the cheapest of all the emergency power plants.
What made it the cheapest?
The tariff.
Which
I have
was
the document here.
the 3.7?
Yes, it was the cheapest of all the emergency power tariffs. So the basis of that argument itself is faulty. But let me even leave at that. Have you cited that report? Or you've only seen extracts?
This is the whole report that I have.
Yes. No, of that report. Who signed?
Of the PPA report, the Partisan Agreement Committee that submitted this report.
Yes.
So this is a report chaired by, Dr. Hinkra of the Energy Commission at the time.
Let me tell you what probably has not come out of this. Mm-hmm. There were two committees.
Okay.
One chaired by Honorable Jinapo, which included the World Bank and other agencies. This was in 2016. They came out their reports. This committee was set up when we ended load shedding in 2015. Having ended load shedding, the government then said, okay, let's look at the whole energy sector. Haven't come through this tumultuous phase. So that committee looked at the whole sector and made some suggestions going forward. That is one. Two, this report that is being cited, I have not seen a signed copy. There is an issue with it. We'll raise it at the appropriate time.
What is the issue with it?
I said we'll raise it at the appropriate time. And that was why I asked you, have you seen a cited?
This is a soft copy. This is a soft copy that I have.
Copy.
I haven't seen a signed copy.
Good. You will look for it. The Energy Commission, which is the technical advisor to the minister by law, also decided they haven't come out of load shedding. Let's look forward. And that was why it was chaired by Dr. Hinkra, who was the executive secretary of the Energy Commission. Let's look forward. What do we do in the next 3-5 years? And what recommendations can we make? And that is the work of the Energy Commission. I absolutely have no problem with that. But it is an Energy Commission report. In 2017, it was set up in 2017, by the way, not 2016. And
the Attorney General says the committee was set up in 2016, September?
That is why I'm saying that it was set up in 2017, not 2016. The two reports are being confused. The one Jinapo chaired was set up in 2016. And that is why I want somebody to give me a signed copy.
You doubt this report?
I'd say I want somebody to give me a signed copy of that report.
And my question is, since you're requesting a signed copy, is it a case that you doubt this report?
I believe this is not the whole report.
What's the source of that belief?
Because I haven't seen a signed copy.
Have you seen a signed copy of John Jinapo's committee?
Yes.
What were the recommendations?
That is not what we are talking about.
I know,
now.
but I'm just asking.
I wouldn't go there on the Jinapo. This is the one you are quoting. I'm talking about this one. I'll be happy if anybody can give me a signed copy to read the whole report.
So this one says, terminate the contract. And I am asking, the John Jinapo committee, what did it recommend?
I don't want to go there. I just brought that in. I'm not going there. If you want us to concentrate on this, I would. What did this report say?
It said it should be terminated.
With negotiation or without negotiation?
With negotiations.
Good. Let that come out. Even though they got the facts wrong, that it was for 5 years when it was for 4 years, I can give you a copy of the agreement we brought to Parliament. The agreement will also tell you it was the cheapest of all the fast-track IPPs. So if you can get this wrong, that is why I want to see a signed copy. Because I'm being told things which are wrong in the agreement. That is why I want a signed copy.